NPR and REC come out against mandatory disaster reporting. Beasley gets dinged for EAS tones on a brokered program. And the Roger Wahl revocation case moves forward.
REC, FCC Today, Michi Bradley.
This is FCC Today, the podcast for Friday, December 10, 2021. Both REC Networks and National Public Radio have filed comments in the Resilient Networks proceeding, PS Docket 21-346. This is a commission proceeding that is looking at ways of improving continuity of the communications infrastructure during major disasters such as hurricanes. One of the proposals that the FCC suggested was requiring all stakeholders in an impacted area to report their daily status on the Commission's Disaster Information Reporting System, or DIRS. Both REC and NPR opposed a mandatory reporting requirement, stating that broadcast station staff are going to be more focused on providing information to the public, and as REC stated, that is something that should have priority over filling out government paperwork. REC further states that DIRS is built in a manner that is not friendly for narrow-screen smartphones, which in some cases may be a station's only link to the outside world. REC expressed concerns about broadcasting's participation in a framework plan, which currently applies to the major wireless companies such as AT&T and Verizon, especially if the participation involves the state broadcasters associations. According to the REC comments, some SBAs have had a long history of discrimination and hostility towards LPFM stations, and that any involvement by the SBAs needs to include language that during times of disasters, LPFM and other small radio broadcast stations need to be supported by the SBAs or other stakeholders to the framework in a non-discriminatory manner. REC comments also included the aggregated results of a recent constituent survey which asked LPFM stations about their preparedness and plans in the event of a disaster. Comments are due on Thursday, December 16th. We'll review more comments in this proceeding next week. Reply comments are due on January 14th. The Roger Wahl revocation case will soon start moving along. Yesterday, the administrative law judge denied a motion made by Wendy Sipple to intervene in the case. Sipple is the prospective assignee of the station in question, WQZS, Myersdale, Pennsylvania. In her motion, Sipple claimed to be an innocent third party to the issues at hand. The ALJ has found that Sipple has not provided a sufficient showing of why she should be allowed to intervene based on the actual issues that are directly related to the case, which is the felony conviction and related misdemeanor convictions of Roger Wahl for revenge porn-related activity. The ALJ has put on the calendar an initial status conference on January 13, 2022 to determine a proposed schedule, description of any discovery anticipated, and any expected pre-hearing motions. The FCC has proposed a $20,000 dinger against Beasley Media Group Licenses, LLC, licensee of KDWN, Las Vegas, Nevada, for EAS violations. The FCC received a complaint that on September 26, 2020, during the Doug Basham radio show, KDWN aired portions of an EAS attention signal that was not in connection with any actual emergency, authorized test, or qualified public service announcement. The tones were also heard on KKLZ HD2, which was feeding FM translator K268CS. In their response to the letter of inquiry, Beasley states that immediately after the transmission of the false EAS tones, the station's board operator contacted Basham and informed him that the broadcasting of the tones was impermissible. The board op also sent an email to the program director to advise of the incident. The Doug Basham Show is a progressive talk show which purchases time on KDWN. Beasley admitted that they did not review the program before it aired. You know, this is something that LPFM stations and smaller NCE stations need to watch out for, because especially when you're getting your programming from a lot of different sources, or you're having DJs feed in their programming from another location, especially if they're live, you've got to make it clear in your procedures that this kind of thing will not be tolerated. And, make sure that's something in your handbook. And I think that's something we'll add to the compliance guide at REC, is this issue with false EAS tones, because it is starting to become a problem again. We have this case. We had the Fox Sports case that just happened here a few days ago. It's getting crazy. And, if the FCC has a lot of tolerance for things, but they really take EAS seriously. The issue is alert fatigue. They don't want people to get used to the tones. So that way, when the tones do happen, listeners take attention to them. And that's why they're very serious. These fines are going to be in the 5 digits and up. And this is the reason for that. So stations just, make sure that it's very clear to your programmers that, this kind of thing will not be tolerated. The FCC has canceled a $15,000 dinger against Seaview Communications Incorporated. In 2019, the FCC imposed the NAL for various public inspection file issues. The NAL also called for an abbreviated 2-year license renewal term. In October of this year, the FCC sent an operational status inquiry letter to the station based on information that the station had been silent or operating with unauthorized facilities for over 12 months. The licensee failed to respond to the letter, and the station's license was canceled pursuant to Section 312G of the Communications Act. In light of the license cancellation, the FCC will not pursue payment of the forfeiture and therefore canceled the NAL on their own motion.
FCC Today.
FCC Today, the podcast, is released as news happens. Call or text us at 202-963-0852 with your comments and questions. You can also email the podcast at fcc.today@recnet.com. This has been a production of REC Network's Always On at recnet.com. I'm Michelle Bradley, SBE Certified Broadcast Technologist. Thanks for listening. Stay safe and have a great weekend.
REC.